Hello there, my friend. Welcome to another episode in my coaching corner here on YouTube. And today we're going to talk about how working on your relationships, your health, and your mindset will 10x, like drastically optimize your energy. And the thing that we've been talking about all month long about your energy is understanding how that is the upper limit, the deciding factor, the key to you reaching your levels of success that you're striving to reach. My name is Sabrina Militello. I'm the owner of Empower Her Life Coaching, and the fact that you're here tells me something really special about you. It tells me that you're somebody who wants to grow, who wants to learn, who wants to succeed beyond maybe what you believe could be possible for you, but there's something in your heart that's telling you more is out there, more is available to me, and you're curious enough and courageous enough to find out what that is. So I want you to start this session off by acknowledging yourself first. Acknowledge yourself for where it is that you're at right now in your growth process, and acknowledge yourself for your willingness to be in the journey and in the process of it to find out where it is that you're going to go. It's rare air that you're in, and I want you to recognize that for yourself. All right. So when I was first getting into the work that I do around optimal performance, peak performance, helping women specifically elevate and reach their peak potential, I really had to drill down on how I was able to do those things, because it's one thing being able to kind of achieve success, whatever that looks like for you in your life. It's quite another understanding how you were able to do that so that you can almost rinse and repeat it for your life going forward, but then also break it down into some frameworks or some strategies or some lessons that you can teach others to help them navigate a similar situation in their lives. So on reflection of everything that I had to walk through to get to where I am now, having reached a level in my health in my 40s that I didn't think was available to me, losing over 104 pounds and reaching a level of performance and edge and vibrancy and vision and just this vibrancy that I have for life in general, being able to achieve that and then also do that and grow and scale 3 businesses alongside that, because it's one thing to reach success, it's quite another to do so without throwing away your relationships and throwing away your quality of life, right? Those 2 things or 3 things don't necessarily correlate in people's minds. A lot of people strive for success, but they do so at the detriment of their health and their well-being and their relationships. I don't see that as being successful. There's no point getting to your end goal, that vision that you have for your life, and feeling broken when you get there, feeling alone when you get there. So the work that I do is really around optimizing women to their peak potential without them sacrificing their health or their relationships. And so a big piece of what we talk about is how to optimize your health, how to optimize your mindset, how to optimize how you show up in your relationships so that that is never the thing that's going to be left to the wayside in your pursuit of your more. So how do you go about doing that? Like I said, I studied this for myself, and I think I can boil it down to one simple thing. Simple, not easy, and one thing that has lots of filtering effects, right? It's like you throw a stone in a lake and the ripples that go out from it. So this one thing affects multiple areas and can be applied to multiple areas in multiple different ways to help you achieve optimal performance without the sacrifice of your health and your relationships and your mental well-being too. And that one thing is boundary setting. Now I know you just said, like, went to all the negative places in your head, right? Because that wasn't what you were expecting me to say. But when I talk about boundaries, I want to reiterate something that I first learned from Trent Shelton. And he talked about how boundaries are not to keep other people out, but they're actually helping you form a bridge to what you need for yourself. Setting a boundary is not just about keeping other people out. And it's not even about protecting yourself. It's also about formulating that bridge of communication, a bridge of true connection, so that you're not feeling resentful towards others or yourself. You're not feeling drained by others or yourself. And you have kind of like a, what's the right way of putting it? Kind of like an operating procedure, if you want to put it that way, for how you show up in your life. And setting boundaries, upholding boundaries, and then reassessing boundaries as you go are the things that I think have made the biggest difference for me, and what I see when my clients implement this strategy effectively. So when I say set boundaries, where does your mind go to? What do you immediately think about? Maybe take a second, pause this, and jot some things down for yourself. When you think about setting boundaries, what initially comes up for you? And then again, pause this and write, who or in what situations do those boundaries need to be set for? I always think about if something is diminishing your energy, and remember this all relates to optimizing your energy, 10xing your energy so that you can show up powerfully to create the success that you're reaching for, right? So when something is draining your energy, or it's diminishing your energy, or it's making you show up in less than your fullest energy, what are those things, or who are those people? Again, pause this and just write some thoughts down. Those situations or those people, maybe it's certain places that you go, certain situations that you find yourself in. Maybe it's certain types of conversations that you find yourself in. Maybe it's groups of people. Identify where your energy is diminished. And this will give you a fast track to understanding where it is that boundaries need to be set in place. So when we're thinking of the concept of boundaries, I want you to really think about what would bolster my energy. So we talked about identifying what drains your energy. Now think, what would really bolster my energy? What would give me the ability to show up more powerfully here? What would enable me to have less stress, less anxiety, less second guessing? What would enable me to follow through on the things that I said that I wanted to do? What would ease my mind? What would give me a little bit more peace, maybe? Pause, jot some of those things down. Because it's really important to understand that when you're setting boundaries, it's not just about blocking the things that you don't want in your life. It's about welcoming and inviting in the things that you do, more of the things that you do. So for example, if you recognize that there's a certain, maybe you have a friend and every time that you talk, it takes 3 hours out of your day because she just does not stop talking, and it's generally really negative. It leaves you feeling drained. There's no kind of back and forth. Maybe she doesn't even ask you how you are. There's no real conversation going on. It's just you're kind of just like a sounding board for her complaint and her comparison and her blame and her gossip, maybe. Extreme example, but I'm sure you can recognize maybe a friendship that you did have, or maybe one that is current. Maybe it's a family member that you find yourself in this situation with. You leave that conversation, you leave their presence feeling exhausted, like you have nothing left to give. It also makes you feel more negative about life in general, whether that's people or the state of the world or whatever. You leave that interaction feeling depleted, but also negative. That is a perfect example of a person and a situation, a frame of interaction that you need to set a boundary around. Can you see what I'm saying? So identify that. The first part of what we talked about was identifying what you don't want more of. And the second piece is recognizing what you are wanting to invite more of in. And this is an important thing to understand about boundaries. They're necessary to set. It's almost a requirement that you set them, because if you don't, you're allowing more of what you don't want into your life and less of what you do. And the first time that happens, second time that happens, maybe that's on them, maybe not, respecting your energy, your time, whatever. But the longer that goes on, that's on you. It's on you for allowing that to continue. And so the boundary that you're setting is not only to block out the things that you don't want, is to have the capacity to welcome in more of what you do and being fully in control of that balance. And I'm not saying that you're going to be able to like block all the negativity out of your life, or all the people, or all the situations, all the circumstances, all the life happenings that make you feel kind of depleted and just spent. But the point is minimizing your time and your attention there, and maximizing, optimizing where it can go in the right direction of you having more peace, more freedom, more positivity, more connection and presence in your life. So the exercise that I want you to really dive into with this lesson, if you're willing, is to do those two exercises: what you don't want, and recognizing the people or the situations that are giving you that, and then understanding and identifying what you truly do want, and then what is going to be necessary for you to kind of box more of that out and welcome more of this in. Who are you going to have a conversation with? What relationships are you going to have to limit? What situations are you going to have to spend less time in? What environments are you going to take yourself out of? Because it's not just about, identifying and recognizing what's going on out there that's not right. It's placing the power right here and choosing that you're going to exit, you're going to protect, you're going to redirect where your energy and your attention is going, so that you're not the person in that situation who's then looking out and complaining and blaming and comparison and gossip and all of that, because you're so frustrated by the situations that you allow yourself to be in. Can you see that? So it's not just about, what is wrong out there. It's truly about standing in your power and deciding what you want to be true in here, and going and facilitating that. So second piece of this that I want you to dive into is who do you need to set these boundaries with? What do these conversations need to look like? Does it warrant a conversation? And that's something to consider too, because I know part of the reason people struggle with setting boundaries is they struggle with that awkward, uncomfortable conversation. Does it warrant a conversation, or could it be parameters you put around the interactions that you're going to have? For example, with that extreme friend that takes 3 hours of your time just pouring negativity onto you, before you go in for the conversation, could you say to her, "God, I'm so excited for us to talk today. I've only got 30 minutes because I need to X, Y, and Z, appointment, call, work, whatever. I've only got 30 minutes, so give it to me. I'm going to be fully present with you here until X amount of time, and then we've got to be done." Right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a deep and meaningful about, how negative they are and you just can't bring yourself to be around them anymore and you have to set this boundary and whatever. It could just be a reframing of the situation you put yourself in to uphold the boundary that you've set for yourself around that individual or that situation. Can you see what I'm saying? So identify who needs to have the conversation, or if there is a conversation that needs to be had, and maybe start setting some of those parameters for yourself around those people or those situations, those environments. What is your time limit? What is your energy limit? How much attention or focus are you going to dedicate to this area now that you recognize that it doesn't serve you fully? So that's kind of the number one way that I think of how you can start setting boundaries to optimize your energy, because they're around your health, your relationships, and your mindset. And the big thing about this too, because I said about setting boundaries, upholding boundaries, and then assessing if they need to stay, you always need to uphold the boundary, right? You've had the conversation, you've set those parameters for yourself, but then what happens when you say the thing, I've got 30 minutes, that's all I've got for this conversation, and then 45 minutes in and you're still there because they've completely disregarded the time limit that you set. You didn't uphold that time limit. It got to the half past the hour and you didn't say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that you're going through this. I've got to run. I'm here for you. I'm thinking about you. I'm going to be sending you all the good energy, but I've got to go," right? Cut it off. You didn't do that. So then again, it's on you. It's important to uphold the boundaries that you set, not only for the other person to start to shift how they're respecting your time, how they're respecting your energy, but also for you to prove to yourself that you're worth the upholding of those boundaries. You're worth the uncomfortable conversation or the kind of awkward intervention in order to protect your energy in the way that you need to, in order to protect your health or protect your relationships in the way that you need to, right? So you need to uphold the boundaries that you set. And I would say that that's actually the hardest piece of the equation, is truly upholding the boundaries that you set, but it's important. If you decide that work is crazy and you're up until 10:30, 11 o'clock at night answering emails because people are just sending you requests when it crosses their mind, not thinking about the time of day, but you're responding to those, you have to set the boundary that is, okay, after 7 p.m, my phone goes on do not disturb. I don't check my emails, and I respond to these things in the morning when I decide that my workday has begun. But then if it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and somebody sends you a email, you have to not respond to it, right? The power lies right here. So upholding the boundary is a really important thing. And then assessing boundaries as you go along. Does this boundary still need to be in place? Has the relationship that I have with this person shifted, or has this environment changed where I don't necessarily need to uphold this rigid kind of boundary that I set for myself? Where can I assess and adjust if it's necessary? So that's an important thing to consider too, that you're not married to the boundaries that you set. They're not set in cement either. You can shift and change and adjust according to what makes the most sense for you as you grow, all right? So upholding boundaries is setting boundaries, upholding boundaries, and then assessing boundaries. And the last piece that I really want to drive home is so much of this is a conversation internally too. What boundaries do you have to set with yourself to optimize your energy? What boundaries do you have to set with yourself around your health, your relationships, and your mindset so that you are in a place where you can 10x, 20x optimize your energy, showing up for your life in a way that truly fuels you and makes you feel vibrant, confident, and fulfilled? That's an important part, because boundary setting isn't just about between you and other people, or between you and other situations, between you and the government, between you and the news cycle. It's not just about you and out there, right? A lot of the boundaries that I had to set that really turned the tide in my health journey, in my growth journey, in my success process, in building my businesses, in being here a decade down the line, is setting boundaries with myself. What behaviors was I no longer going to tolerate? What excuses was I no longer going to make? How was I no longer going to negotiate with myself on all of these areas? So consider that too. That's a huge piece of the puzzle, and I would encourage you to journal on that. Where do the boundaries need to be set between me and me? Between the me that currently exists maybe, and the me that is still trying to pull me back into those negative, destructive patterns of behavior, or between the me that currently exists and the me that I'm wanting to live into. What boundaries need to be set for me to be able to build that bridge towards that version? Can you see what I'm saying? So I want you to really consider this and do the book work with this, journaling on these, jotting down your thoughts, brain dumping on this conversation to identify where and with who the boundaries you need to be set, what conversations need to be had or not, and then commit your commitment level to upholding the boundaries that you set, and a plan of action of how you're going to assess and adjust as time goes, and then really do a deep dive internally of the boundaries that need to be set for your own well-being with you around your health, your behaviors, your mindset, what your belief systems and your thinking is, and your relationships, what you tolerate and no longer do tolerate. I hope this served you. I hope it gave you some powerful things to think about, because when it comes to your success journey, optimizing your energy is the unlock. It's the key. And these areas of your health, your relationships, and your mindset are really kind of the they're the what's the word? They're the oil in the lock, if you like, if you want to stick with that analogy, to helping you show up powerfully in that way. Feel free to give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you feel the need to. I would absolutely love that. And maybe share this episode with somebody that you think needs to hear it, to get the framework and the kind of outline of how to go about setting boundaries and why it's necessary. I'll see you next time.